and welcome to the stream. I'm Jo.
And I'm Jordan. We are live on Warden Radio, Facebook, YouTube, Live, Odyssey, and various other platforms that don't matter.
Very good. Yay!
Thank you very much. I was also joined by an aeroplane that was just flying over relatively close. I'm not sure if you could hear it, but I certainly could.
Yes, we had a bit of hamster sabotage just before the stream, so well done.
Indeed. The hamster is well fed. He's content. Doing hamstery things. One of hamsters being well fed and well content and all of that jazz. Poor Mr. Ollie, he had a sneeze earlier on. He had a bit of a blocked nose.
Hay fever?
A cold, maybe. I'm not sure.
Uh-oh.
He had a sneezing session. I went up to talk to him. He just sneezed right in my face. I was like, oh, you son of a gun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's gratitude for you.
It was. I had bird sneeze over my face this morning. It was a rather weird way to wake up.
Well, that would technically be bird flu then, wouldn't it?
But it would be, oh, God, no. I'm going to
die. Good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us. Who's here? Let's have a look. English Will, Sir Francis, Monty is here. Just scrolling. Johnny Not Powell, good evening. Hasdat, good evening. My stepdad's not mean, good evening to you. Okay, that's it. It's just us few. So let's crack on. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And yeah, we've got loads to get through. So we're going to talk about, oh my goodness, so much this evening. Shall we just get straight to it?
I think we should. The first thing is the good old standby. We are now second-class citizens, officially. Aren't we lucky?
It's interesting. So they're dropping self-isolation for those who've had 2 jabs. And yet, it's not necessarily making people healthy, is it? It's not doing the job that it's claiming to do.
The reason I wanted to include this is because it says here, the UK could follow the US system with people having to take regular tests instead of self-isolating. The reason I bring it is because every time I'm in the car and I have the radio on, I hear an advert, a very specific advert from Bedford, and they say something along the lines of, let's make testing part of our daily routine. And you drive through Bedford, there's signs up saying, get tested, let's make it a part of your routine.
No.
It's weird.
The answer is no. Monty rightly points out, but they can't travel, can they? Because as it turns out, now that you've had your jabs, you can't travel anymore. How's that freedom taste for you? That's all I'm going to say.
Talking of not being able to travel, Herr Merkel was the one who decided this one. Merkel's proposal to quarantine UK travellers entering the EU is a big mistake. It is bloody interesting here. Jesus Christ. The ad blockers is not the interesting thing, Independent, please. I'm trying to compliment you for once. Interesting little bit of reporting here. Britain does more sequencing than many neighbours. Surely that kind of proves that all a little bit farcical. Well, if you want an even playing field, everybody should be testing in the same standardised way. It shouldn't be left up to various nations to decide how much they want to sequence things.
And just to be clear, for anyone who's not sure what that means, it means when you run the PCR test through cycles, you can run them through as many cycles as you want to ensure you get the results that you need. So if you are going to, let's say, let's say the standard is 30 cycles and you're going to run at 60, guess what? You're going to get more false positives, which is why the R rate in the UK has always been extraordinarily high. You're going to find cases where there are none. And given that the government has already admitted that the PCR tests are flawed, given that they've already admitted that they've bumped up the quota, the numbers for people testing positive, the reality is every single piece of legislation that imprisoned us was unlawful, illegal, unjust, and immoral. They know this, and they know we know this. And that is why people are getting off their backsides and they're protesting. I don't know that those protests are going to lead to much except networking, but it still shows that people know more people than we first thought. Johnny Not Pal says, when cases are up because children are using orange juice and nothing is said, I give up. Yeah,
I saw something really weird this morning. I popped onto Twitter, which is rare. I very rarely do this, but I popped onto Twitter. And down on where it tells you things that are going on, the trending page, it was about this. It was about the orange juice thing. And the only thing there were 5 tweets from the Independent. That was it. There was nothing else. There were no people replying to it. There was no nothing. It was just 5 tweets from the Independent about this.
Well, they don't want the good old British public getting wind of this, do they?
Well, that's the thing. Why would you put it on the trending page when only 5 people have read it? Or sorry, only 5 people have spoken about it. That's not trending. That's
it's people creating. It's people creating their own self-importance. Enjoy, because nobody cares. That's literally my opinion for all of this.
Talking of self-importance, the self-important people who have got 2 jabs will now be able to travel to me, and they're not going to be quarantined.
Good evening, Johnny Red Pill Seed. I want to speak about this. This is very interesting. So basically, what the backstory here is this. It's amazing. You're going to love this. I'm sure most of you know. AstraZeneca, when it was first introduced, was called Oxford AstraZeneca. I'm sure everyone knows about this because you can't avoid it, right? Well, apparently, India also made a version called AstraZeneca. And the reason why Herr Merkel went all crazy Nazi over people entering the EU was because people were receiving the Indian version of AstraZeneca. And that hadn't been approved, you see. So people thought they were getting the Oxford version, they were getting the Indian version. There you go. Cool story, bro. I'm sorry, I'm just tired. This is all nonsense. It's all theatre. Of course, Merkel cannot prevent people entering the EU. Hell, just tell her you're a migrant. You don't even have to have a check or a passport. She's an idiot. They're all idiots.
It's an interesting question. If Merkel were to bring this sort of thing in, and somebody who has had 2 jabs were to travel to Germany, what would stop them from then going across the border to the Netherlands or going to
nothing.
Poland or going to Switzerland or Italy? What's stopping people from going to Germany and then going around Europe as and how they please?
That's the beauty of open borders. People can do whatever they want and you have no idea who's in your country. Well played. Can we also say good evening to Philomena? Roy is here. Tash is here.
Late.
You were late. Will is here.
Dennis
Hashtag is here.
Hello.
Feel a spare. Oh, you jumped right ahead of me. Good evening, Dennis. I have to check the chat, remember, while you're talking. So that was...
But I can't see anything because I'm looking at the page.
Exactly.
Whatever.
I was already doing shout-outs. No, don't jump on my thing. This is my thing.
Do you know what?
Do you know?
No, I'm doing my thing now. Do you know what? This is just proof that there are 2 types of the world. There are the haves and the have-nots. There are the people who control things and people who do not. More specifically, one rule for me, one rule for thee. And a prime example of this. What do you mean this story isn't available? You son of a guns.
What's the story? What's the headline?
Stall for me.
Okay, well, I'm going to say good evening to Roan Wood. Not here. It's like taking register, isn't it? Bueller. Okay. Have you found it?
I have indeed found it. Apple. Right, Joe, this is you and your stupid links. Anyway, one rule for me, one rule for thee. The segue is just fine. Ignore everything else. Number 10 admits Matt Hancock did use private email for official work and refuses to say if rules were broken. Surely.
Refuses? Someone's entitled to privacy then.
What is it with these people and emails?
I
First
don't know. Did he
Clinton,
get
now
tips from?
this.
Yeah, did he get tips from Clinton?
Oh my God, the Independent get a tip and hint when it comes to this ad blocker. It's not going anywhere. I don't
The
like you.
Independent must be desperate for money. They're literally begging at this point. I wanted to say hello to someone else, and I don't know who it was. So you've ruined my segue.
Your segue isn't a segue. Your segue is a dead way. But
Whatever. Oh, it's one easy money. There you go. I found you. Good evening. That's it. All the good evenings are done. We're all done with that. So yeah, the private email thing, it does show again, yeah, that they live by different rules to us. They don't think they're accountable for the things they do. But we're accountable for everything we do, even the stuff they make up about us. But these people can just breeze through life absolutely fine, doing whatever they want, breaking the rules they want, while telling us to follow the rules, which is, I think, the reason so many people are annoyed with Matt Hancock. But the fact that
this
Number
was
10
3 days.
admits... Oh, go on, sorry.
This was 3 days ago as well. I didn't know this at all until you sent it to me. I thought this was a breaking story today. But no, this has been memory hold like nobody's business because there is no follow-up at all.
I was going to say the fact that they refuse to say if rules are broken, the fact that they have choices that they have forbidden us from having, or that are denied to us, just goes to show how really broken the whole system is. They think they're better.
This whole thing is a little weird. Like, why would they... Downing Street won't say if important information was copied in work accounts. One day after denying any personal email use. Like, that's odd. Especially considering they seem to want to nail Hancock to the wall. I'm surprised they didn't just throw him under the bus.
Well, there are people who are suggesting that Savvy Javi set up Hancock to take his job, which wouldn't surprise
That
me
wouldn't
at
be
all.
difficult.
What do we think? Do we
One
think
in the chat if you think the
Savvy
bald man
Javi?
did it.
Well, somebody turned the camera around. Johnny, not pal. My email password has been hacked again. That's the third time I've had to rename the cat. That's so good. Tash
like Philomena's
suggests...
take.
Oh, I'll do
on.
mine first because it's earlier. Tash says, don't call hypocrisy on them, just praise them for being good examples of how to behave. Well, yes, what's good for the goose and all that. What did Philomena say? This one?
Indeed.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? He's probably chatting to his mistress, to be fair, but...
Okay, I'll read it for the radio because apparently Joe has forgotten this.
Oh.
So what was being said for him to use private emails instead of his work one? It's a bloody interesting question, especially considering, I don't know if anybody else says this, they have multiple accounts. It's a pain in the backside going from one to the other. Really not a massive fan of carrying conversations across multiple accounts. It must be hell on earth doing it with their security systems. I can't imagine their security systems being a simple, like, put your password in and be done with. I would imagine it's going to be the old... the multiple check thing where you have to log in and you get your text through and all the rest of that jazz.
Yeah, there'll be massive data protection involved where every time you leave your desk, you've got to log out, you've got to log back in, probably swipe something. We all know that Matt Hancock has been handing out contracts to friends and family like sweets. So that's probably something he was engaging in on private email, so there'd be no trace of it.
Mm-hmm.
Hasdak says Savvy will be next PM. It's interesting. Several months ago, whose job did Savvy Javi take before? And we said that they're lining him up to be PM. And then they moved on to...
No, isn't it Rishi Sunak we've said?
No, before him it was Savvy Javi. I can't remember. Maybe some of the chat will remember. He took someone else's job. Dennis is asking, why was there a camera in there? PSYOP. Well, allegedly... so the saying goes, the camera was there to film the balcony, I guess, in case somebody trying to scale the building like Spider-Man. Spider-Man wants government secrets.
This is in case the SAS decided to rock up.
Johnny Not Powell agrees with me. Agrees with you. They want Rishi Savy will be chancellor. All Asian leadership, says Will.
I like Phil's Bears. Look at Matt. He looks like his email will be full of feet pics.
Oh no, that's an awful image.
He does. Is there a picture of him? Probably is, but I'll have to refresh the page, and I don't want to do that.
Oh, please don't.
No, well, I'll end up with the stupid poxy. You know, you've got an ad blocker thing going on. I can't be having that.
So do we think then, chat, that I mean, Sir Francis has just said, yeah, they want to humiliate us while replacing us. Do we think this is what this is about? Is having a non-English government, or at least the top echelons of it, to govern England? Do we think that's the goal here? Because there are quite a lot of foreigners now in our parliament, and I'm talking about the UK parliament as a whole. Will suggests they keep bringing in foreigners to administer our homelands because they are loyal more to the globalists than the people. Well, arguably, you can say that foreigners would not have the same connection or empathy or sympathy or loyalty to the people of a country in which they weren't born and have no emotional connection to themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's really easy to destroy a country, isn't it, that you don't feel anything for. But once again, and as Ragnar brings up many times, how many English people are in the African Parliament or the Indian Parliament or the Pakistan Parliament or the Afghanistan Parliament or the Syrian Parliament, and so on and so on and so on? The answer, of course, is none. Zero.
Well, we tried to, and they decided they didn't like it.
And we left.
And then they threw us out. And we left.
Unlike them, we can take a hint.
Exactly. When we're told to get out, we get out.
Of course,
become the Grand Old Duke of York for some reason.
Of course, the downside of telling those English they have to leave is you stop getting their money. Didn't quite work out, that one, did it?
No. And you know something else that didn't quite work out, Joe? This weird abduction. London manhunt for male who attempted to abduct boy 5 from Brick Lane.
Going by that title, because it doesn't say thug or scumbag, I'm assuming it's not one of our locals.
This entire thing is really weird. You sent this to me and said it was weird. The reporting on it was weird. And then I read it. I don't normally read these things. Normally I fly by the seat of my pants and I just do it on stream. This one I did read though, and it was genuinely weird. Where's the line specifically? The boy, who was with 2 other family members, managed to get to a family friend's home to alert the police.
Yes, this got my spidey sense going. So somebody tries to abduct a child from 2 adults, although it does not say adults, to be fair. Could have been 2 other children. Why didn't they raise the alarm?
If it was 2 other children, they would have said other children, not family friends.
So the child
other family members. That's not what you would have said. You would have said who was with 2 other children.
So it's 2 weird. two people with this child. Someone tried to abduct the child. Instead of going to those 2 people for help, the child actually ran to someone else's home. Where did he go? Sorry? Family friend's home.
A family friend's home.
So we had to go to a friend's home to alert the police, and not the 2 family members who were with him. I'm calling shenanigans.
Oh, Will has brought up a good one. Do we know if it was a family member trying to take back their own child that's reported as an abduction to mess up the stats? I would say, given the area this is in, Brick Lane, that it's just Abdul's, let's be honest. Just look at the picture, for God's sake. We can work out who these people are.
Johnny Knockwell makes a good point here as well, just speaking about, yes, looking at the picture. The reality is if we were a more homogeneous nation, people on the street would have raised the alarm. Although that awful video we saw, again, we know that it was a setup, but still.
The thing is, I agree with that, apart from where this is. This picture is exceptionally deceiving. I've been down Brick Lane a number of times. I've never seen this number of English people.
Can I just
Quite
say,
honestly, I'm used to seeing the letterboxes wandering around here. So I'm not sure when this picture was taken.
can I just say, look at the picture, look at the awfulness of that picture. Brick Lane was a thriving part of the East End community. White working class people grafting, close, grafting from 5 a.m, setting up stalls and setting up shops and selling to the public. Look at the names of these businesses.
I can't say them.
You've got Preman Christie.
Nazru. What's Nazru?
I don't know. It's probably some evil demon that they worship. I don't know. It just look how it's changed. We've been erased.
I have a question. Cinnamon back here. Is this like what they're selling, or is this the name? It's a bit weird.
It's probably a code name for something a bit less healthy. Roy says this story could only be more vague if they hadn't bothered writing it. That was very Blackadder-esque. Well done, Roy. I do agree. Honor abductions. These are different cultures, and again, I'm probably going to upset people, not people here, by saying savage. We do not have the same culture. We were not raised the same. We do not believe the same things. We do not value the same things. When you force one culture onto another, and one is savage by comparison to the other, which is civilized, things are going to become a little bit prickly. But don't dare complain. Yeah, no, the signs are just, it's sad, very sad. Of course, when we reinvade London, we'll probably start with Brick Lane. I am, of course, joking. I am, of course, joking. Allegedly, when we allegedly reinvade London.
When we are invading Libya for pre-mentioned reasons.
Ooh,
anyway,
Liven's Flame, just really quickly before we move on, said the kid was probably with female family members. They weren't allowed to protect him, so he had to run to a house where males were. You know what I think it was? They tried to tell him what to do, but between the mask and the burqa, they were just mumbling. And the kid was like, what do I do? What do I do? And they were going mumble, mumble, mumble. And the kid was like, but what do I do? And they were just mumbling away and dribbling and stuff because, it was really hot. And the kid was like, oh, whatever, you're useless. I'm going to go and find someone who can help. I'm calling that as the official story.
The next story, I believe there is a hot air balloon landing in the backfield, which is a little bit weird. I kind of want to go and look at it. I also kind of want to move on to the next story, which I'm going to do very smoothly. Talking of balloons that raise you up and coming down, apparently COVID. Half of teenagers suffering anxiety and trauma in the wake of COVID lockdowns. What a surprise.
This is so disgraceful. I'm sorry to interrupt such a solemn moment, but I have to read this out from Colonel Custard. I do apologise for the timing. I tried to catch a bus in Brick Lane. The driver said, you can't get on, I'm jam-packed full. I said, I don't care what your name is, I just want to get on the bus. Boom. Sorry, that was so good, I couldn't leave it. Thank you for that. Anyway, yes, back to the solemn story. I can't do that, seriously now.
Do you know what would cause their anxiety and depression and all the rest of that jazz? If they would come and watch us. that would make them feel better.
Do you want a night of bad comedy? Come along.
What do you mean bad comedy? This is infinitely better than Mock the Week, let me tell you. Half of teenagers have been left suffering with anxiety and trauma in the wake of COVID-19 lockdowns. School closures left a devastating impact, according to a systematic review. I very much doubt that school closures cause the devastating impact. I would more imagine it is the fact that they were locked in their home and told not to leave.
Yeah, because they still could have seen their friends if they had not been imprisoned, couldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the tack that these so-called journalists are taking. By the way, they're equating school closures with antisocial restrictions on children, but the reality is children can socialise with anyone they want. Don't have to be at school to do it. But they're trying to link these two things in people's minds so that they push their kids back to school so they can be taught about gays and trannies and drugs and safe touching, and you're hateful because your skin colour is this. And yeah, they want kids back in school where they can control them and stick a swab up their nose, penetrating the blood-brain barrier, and just make them
Or
feel
in the orange
miserable
juice.
and guilty. Yeah, and then give them a little carton of orange juice with a straw and say, "Don't do anything I wouldn't do."
No.
Back to
You
the
could,
story.
instead of putting it up the nose, you could put it in the orange juice. Problem solved.
I don't think they just hand them a swab and say, "Have at it." I think they swab them.
No. These are for the self-testing kits at home. Didn't you come out with something the other day that out of all the home testing kits, only 14% or something have actually been tested or actually been used?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. So even the children they're testing, they're not even collating all of the results. Not that the whole thing isn't just whatever theatre, but they're not even collating all the tests. They're not even using them all. So most of them are going in the bin, which makes you wonder if this is not some form of conditioning where they just want people to get used to wearing masks and sticking swabs up their nose. And you mentioned in the earlier story about making testing a part of your daily routine. That's what they want. They want people to embrace this as automatic behavior so that you get used to doing it, so that you don't feel outraged when you're asked to do it, so that you start to get to the point where you do it automatically without being asked at all because it's now learned behavior. This is disgusting. This is brainwashing children.
No, this is destroying children. I think PTSD is a little bit overdone. But yeah, this is a personal bugbear of mine. I think the term PTSD for soldiers should be changed back to shell shock.
I agree.
Like PTSD covers a wide range. To me, there is a difference between I was in a war, I watched my mate get blown up by a grenade, and I've been locked down and I'm very upset. There's a world of difference, even though in these people's world they classify them as the same thing. They're not the same thing.
Plus, they call
I
it a
think
stress
we should
disorder.
start.
You
Exactly,
know, that's not
we should
stress.
start a
Your
campaign.
mind's broken. Sorry.
Yeah, we should start a campaign that soldiers don't get PTSD, they get shell shock. I don't care if it's inaccurate, it doesn't matter. It differentiates the damn things. They're vastly bloody different.
Exactly. Because the reality is stress affects many people in many different ways. And stress is or dare I say it, a spectrum. But when you've seen the most horrific images of war, how can you equate that to someone who's just a bit anxious about, or like that stupid Indian woman at the NHS who's stressed because she has to deal with patients? Get another job, you idiot! Oh, I'll get a job at the NHS. I hope there are no patients. What is wrong with these people? It's like working in Clark's and being afraid of shoes. Seriously, these people are just grifters. I'll get a job that I know I can't do. I'll start claiming disability benefits and everything else I'm not entitled to because I wasn't actually born here and this isn't my country. And then I'll sue people if they sack me for not doing my job. Brilliant. You clap for us now, right?
Well, don't get me going on that. We're covering that again shortly.
All these people.
There's a number of comments. Roy agrees with me. Heck yeah. Jerry has said he threatened his orders with a COVID test unless he cleans up his room.
That's amazing. Jerry, you are an example to us all. What a star.
That's a good one.
Did he clean
my
his room?
stepdad's not mean. He better off. My stepdad's not mean. said. Soft language to disguise the horror, which I fully agree with.
Yes.
And then to make light of it, as always, Johnny not Pow. Oh, a moment, I've lost the comment. Where's it go? There it is. Where did the Cookie Monster develop PTSD? Vietnam, nom, 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 nom.
I was just catching up. I've literally just found it. That was so good. Thank you. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think this soft language to sort of downplay the real damage that this causes to people. Oh, and Jerry's confirmed. One tidy room later. Nice one.
Problem solved. Also, goodbye, Phyllis Bear.
Yes, take care, love. Have a good evening. Of course, this will be deemed the new child abuse. You know, if you threaten your children with like the jab or a test if they don't do their chores. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
But meanwhile, if you actually commit child abuse on a massive, massive scale, it's okay. They can't do anything to you because it's a breach of your human rights.
Oh, so you have the right to abuse children. Brilliant. What a shining example of your community you are. Is it any wonder people have an issue with you? I'm going to rant all night, by the way, so buckle in, everyone. Carry on, John.
Well, we haven't even come across your favourite one. I don't know. We need like a name for this person. I've just written her down as Bagman.
Oh,
I quite like the term Bagman to describe her, but I'm not sure if that is fitting enough. Bagman will do for the time being.
Shawina be gone.
Shawina.
Well, all she does is whine. We don't want her back.
She does complain. She also has a face that looks like it complains a lot. You know, she looks like misery incarnate.
Good evening,
Apparently,
John.
she poses no threat to the UK and should be allowed home, former diplomat said. I know enough about her to feel quite confident that she's not a dangerous person. Well, isn't that nice?
First of all, whether she poses a threat or not, she basically took everything she'd been given because she's ungrateful, threw it away, and decided to join a group that actively hunts and kills people like us. So it doesn't matter whether she's a threat or not. She rejected Britain. She shouldn't have been here in the first place. Her family shouldn't have been here in the first place. And we don't want her back. That's the answer. No.
But the headline covers up the real doozy in this story. This is according to a Yank. According to someone who doesn't live here. How about take it, go away. Go back to your own nation. Go and talk to Dementia in Chief and try and fix your own bloody problems. Don't interfere in ours.
Slippery Joe.
Tripping Joe. I've always been disappointed that someone hasn't done some sort of mock cover of Killing Joe's Killing Time and then just somehow fiddle the words around so that they're about Joe Biden tripping down. You don't know that song, do you, Joe?
Are you surprised?
Oh my God. Why don't you listen to like good music? Killing Time is a great song.
Okay. Liven's Flame says she enabled crimes against humanity in Syria. Feed her to the Syrians, I say. Does anyone miss the good old days? We used to throw people to the lions. I think we should bring that back.
I don't. What has been done to Syria is absolutely wrong and immoral in every way.
Yes.
The way to handle these people is just arrest them, hand them over to the Syrian government and say, have at them. Because the Syrian government will be infinitely harder on people like this than we ever would be.
I think when it comes to foreigners as well, I think if you commit a crime in a foreign country, it's time to just go back to the obvious solution.
Oop.
Firing squad.
I'm a fan. I prefer hanging personally, but fair enough. I'll accept that.
Hanging is cheaper, and it's a bit more pomp and ceremony. And I suppose you could do pay-per-view for really heinous people like Whiner Be Gone. But even so, I feel like a Sillet Bang advert. No, we can't use that one. But even so,
these bloody ad bloggers do it independent.
If you consider the cost, and as SD 104R says, £500,000 per year for her security.
Okay, I didn't notice this earlier on.
I think the cost of a single bullet, brilliant. I'd pay.
I didn't notice this earlier on. Can
You are
I
her,
come home, please, pretty please? This is in quotations. Is this what she's actually said?
and she wants to be taken seriously. And by the way, when you say, can you come home, where do you mean? This isn't your home.
Then she made it there. Personally, I don't think I need to be rehabilitated, but I would want to help other people be rehabilitated. I would love to help.
I bet you would. She
It
helped
does.
people before she left, didn't she, Jordan?
She did indeed. I was just coming to that. You need to knock it on the head that your segue game is weak.
Wow.
I wear these clothes. I don't wear the hijab because it makes me happy. Good. I'm glad.
Well,
Did wearing the ISIS badge also make you happy? Because that's what
we're
you
so
used to
glad
do,
you're happy,
apparently.
love. Yes. So she wore the ISIS badge to school to recruit other teens, classmates say. So this poor little girl act that she's putting on now is just not her. She had the choice to go. She had the choice to stay. Her life wasn't in danger here. And she rejected everything she'd been given. And now she wants us all to forgive and forget because she's happy. In fact, if you're happy, why are you asking to come to Britain? It's not your home. We don't want you. We reject you. You're not one of us. You don't behave like one of us. Begone, Begum. Bethnal Green, look, another part of the East End, just destroyed. This is the culture that they want us to embrace. No, we're done. Bye-bye. We don't want you. Oh God, yes, my stepdad's not mean. Yes, I've seen the queer sofas. Oh, cringe.
What?
Have a look at IKEA queer sofas. They've just brought out a range of sofas to celebrate Pride.
Oh no, this sounds awful.
Will suggest we use Shemima as well bait. That'd be great. Yes, well said, Philomena.
Oh, I truly despise
They're
these.
awful, aren't they?
What the hell is happening with that?
In fact, if you look at these sofas and then imagine the kind of decor you've got in a room where these sofas would work. I thought that the old stereotype of gay people having good taste, was true. Apparently, it's a myth because those are awful.
These are genuinely vile.
So that
These
one
are
with the flowers, what is that?
These are horrific. Mummy, what about the one with hands? The one with hands, Joe. No,
Well,
I don't approve.
does it say hands off our children?
No, it doesn't. It probably also doesn't say hand off our weed, which is what this poor geezer had to try and sell because he arrived here and realised that he didn't fit in terribly well. And his journey to a new life in Europe ended with him selling weed in a park.
Amazing. So you come to our country and you engage in criminal behaviour by illegally entering the country and then by committing crimes while you're in the country. Oh, well, don't we feel sorry for you? Just real quick before you get to this, I just want to finish off the comments for Begum. That she would even feel comfortable in a place like the UK says nothing good about it, says Will. Well said. Colonel Custard, yes, we know she's a distraction.
We've said this many times before.
Yeah. Yeah,
it was mainly just the... We've said this many times before about it. It was mainly just the badge thing, which is new and kind of interesting. Mainly because the media keep bringing them up.
It's not just that. So the contempt that we're held in by the media, that they give us all the information and they still hold us in contempt and they think we're too stupid to put two and two together. Lyman's Flame says she's a British-hating monster. Made in Cornwall says yes, but she had a Union flag cushion. Of course, she's a patriot then.
She's going to get one of those IKEA queer sofas. I never thought I would say that.
And on this, Roy says even DFS won't be able to sell those off in a sale. Well, I'm not reading that out. That's gross. Oh, yes, endurance. Rob D, this is such a great comment. I made Jordan sit and watch an episode of Endurance, and he was blown away. Unfortunately, it's such an old show, the quality wasn't good enough to share with you. What did you think about
One minute. First off, great show. Secondly, the quality of it was basically a 144p potato.
It was really bad.
It was really quite something. I would like to find the actual original episodes. I have a feeling they may be on something slightly better, like a 360p potato.
Thing is, they wouldn't make them now, would they? Because someone would be banging on about human rights, even though it's completely voluntary. Anyway, yes, brilliant show, and yes, good comment. And we agree.
It was a great show.
Okay, back to you, Jordan.
Thank you very much. This geezer, Jawara,
Javara.
it's never a great sign. It's never a great sign when your name sounds like Scooby Doo once he's been stung by a wasp.
Rugu.
Jawara. Jawara. 23 has been a street drug dealer in Berlin's park since his claim for asylum was rejected. First off, where else do you sell drugs if not the street?
And also, if your asylum claim's been rejected, leave!
Why, if their asylum claim has been rejected, why aren't they put on an aeroplane immediately?
Because no
Just
one
like,
cares.
get on. Not you have 24 hours to leave. No, lad. Here's your ticket. Here's a guy with a gun who's going to take you there.
Yeah, pack up your drugs and get the hell out.
Interestingly, born in Gambia, he crossed the Sahara to reach Germany and spent time in a Libyan jail cell during his journey.
He would still be there if it wasn't for the Clintons. Just saying.
Why? Even the Libyans arrest people for breaking into their country illegally. What do you sell? Mostly weed. That's what people come here for. But if someone asks for speed, coke or pills, I have that too. But aren't you some sort of emporium of the devil's lettuce? What?
A one-stop shop.
How's business? During the pandemic, without tourists around, it took a lot longer to sell my supplies. Who goes to a foreign...
Like he's talking about cakes.
1 minute. Who the hell goes to a foreign city, see some random African geezer sitting there who can probably barely speak German, and then break out your own pidgin German and say, "Hello, mate, do you have any coke?" Who does that?
Oh, they use the African code, don't
What's
they?
happening here?
No, someone comes up to him and says, "What are you gay?" And he says, "How much?"
I'm lucky to make €200 profit on a good day. Do you have problems with the police? Well, you have to be careful around here. Apparently not terribly careful, because they don't nick you and send you back. I'm from Gambia, surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean. No offence, lad, we mapped that bloody ocean. We know where it is. We also mapped your country.
Surrounded by
Put
ocean.
2 and 2 together.
Why don't you fish? I'm going to keep banging on about this. Don't sit there and be all, "Oh, Live Aid, we're starving." Fish! It's a stick and a piece of string. We did it. Yeah, I want you to insert yet another story, Jordan, that I've meant to send you earlier.
One minute. There's so much to pick apart here. I left Gambia when I was a teenager. I'm from this tribe, but I consider myself a citizen of the world. I'm family with everyone. But he then goes on to say, in Gambia, we have a mentality. Everyone wants to travel. It's because Gambia is shit.
It's rubbish. Because you don't fish. Irrigation. If you had fish and water, you'd want to stay.
Let's be realistic. Gambia, probably one of the countries that Donald Trump referred to as a shithole.
No.
Completely correctly.
No, I can't believe he'd say something like that.
Completely correctly. It is a great tragedy he didn't get stuck there. Just saying.
Well, it's a shame he's not in Britain, because he could end up somewhere else, couldn't he?
Oh, he could indeed. We can come back to that maybe. Anyway, Swedish teenagers arrested after the coppers shot dead in Gothenburg.
So the reason why this story is important is because this is the first, I'm surprised, the first time a police officer has been killed in a no-go zone. You know, the no-go zones that the media and the government declared did not exist. Well, here you go. And they're saying it's a 17-year-old Swedish man, originally from Somalia. I'm just talking to myself now. Okay. So
No,
yeah,
you're not.
Swedish.
I'm trying to find any other article. You can carry on, love.
Oh, okay. Right. So it says several officers were on patrol in the rough suburb of Biskopsgarden. I'm sorry, my pronunciation's terrible. On Biscuit Garden, whatever. On Wednesday evening, when one was reportedly hit by a bullet. 30-year-old officer died of his injuries in hospital later that night, according to the initial investigation. It is the first time an active police officer has been shot dead in Sweden in 14 years. Well, they normally just use machetes, don't they? So, yeah. The suspect, who denies the allegations, was arrested on Friday and has been charged with murder and attempted murder.
You've got to change it up every now and then from the machetes. You know, you need to spice it up a little. Got to live.
Do we know who the suspect is?
We do not know who the suspect
Why is it they're always 17? Because the suspect is under 18, their identity won't be revealed.
Because they get to pick their own age.
Is it another one of those 17-year-olds with, like, you know, a full beard and like a beer belly?
Yes. In 2020, there were more than 360 incidents involving firearms in Sweden, with a record 47 deaths and 117 injuries. First off, what's with the very low percentage rate? If you're firing off 360 shots and you're only injuring 117 people, you've got some serious aiming issues.
Well, you know, this is because we've seen video after video of the Swedish police just running away from them, because what tends to happen is they get a call, they go out to the scene, and then these people threaten them with machetes and try and set their car on fire while they're still inside it. So they either run away or drive away, screaming like babies, and this is why the police are not killed in Sweden, because they run away from the bad migrants.
Hey, Joe, do you know what we could do with bad migrants?
What could we do?
We could send them to Rwanda.
Oh,
we can
yes!
process them there.
Okay, we're not getting too excited about this. It sounds amazing. We know it's not going to happen, but it sounds amazing. Let us enjoy our moment.
I cannot find the original article. Apparently, the UK is also jumping on this bandwagon. It sounds amazing. Denmark plans to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. Unconscionable and potentially unlawful, says Amnesty International.
Why?
Surprise, surprise.
Do they say why?
No. Any attempt to transfer asylum seekers arriving in Denmark to Rwanda for their asylum claims to be processed would not only be unconscionable, but potentially unlawful. Denmark cannot deny the right to those arriving in Denmark to seek asylum and transfer them to a third country without the required guarantees. Why? You've rocked up on somebody's doorstep and said, "Can I come in, please?" And then that person has said, "Go stand in the garden and I'll decide." That's all that's happened here.
Well, no.
If you're denied entry, the thing is, if you're denied entry into Denmark, doesn't matter where you end up, completely irrelevant. You should be sent back to your original nation.
Well, I was going to say, they don't rock up and say, "Can I stay here, please?" What they do is they break in, and then when they get caught, they say, "But I want to stay here because otherwise something bad is going to happen." Forget all the bad stuff that's going to happen to the people you forced yourself on. I think Rwanda is a good idea.
The idea that rich countries can pay their way out of their international obligations, stripping asylum seekers of their right to even have their claims considered in Denmark, is deeply worrying. Why is it their right to have their claim considered at all, let alone considered in Denmark?
Why do we have an obligation to foreign criminals? When you break into our country, you are a criminal.
Sure, but let's say these people aren't breaking in. Right, let's say they're doing this legally. If we don't like the system, fine. But let's say they're doing it legally. Why does it matter if we are processing them in Rwanda, if we're processing them in Libya, if we're processing them anywhere? It doesn't. Doesn't matter at all.
It's because they know once they get on UK soil, they're not going to be deported, and that's really the key.
Exactly. And thank you for the link.
You're
Patel
welcome.
plan to hold asylum seekers in offshore processing centre. Heck yeah! I like the term processing centre. See, Australia already do. This is a bloody good point, actually. Priti Patel is expected to reveal a bill that would allow the UK to hold asylum seekers in Australian-style offshore processing centres, according to reports. Ah, that sounds amazing.
I've got a couple of comments.
Oh, by all means. We've gone a
So,
while.
Made in Cornwall says, pretty useless, will not send any of the illegal immigrants back. Ungrates. Ingrates. We should start calling them now, sorry. Ungrates, I don't know, I just made up that word. Rob D says, Amnesty International would say that though, wouldn't they? It has to justify its existence, funding and power. Well said. Mr. 262 thinks something bad is going to happen sooner or later and they won't want to stay then. I do think people are going to start getting fed up with this. I mean, how much patience do people have at the end of the day? So Francis suggests there are different rules for new citizens. We see this all the time, of course. Philomena says Rwanda is the new Wakanda. Livens Flame says black countries aren't fit to live in. Sounds a bit istophobic, doesn't it just? I'm pretty sure there's something racist in that statement there. Johnny says, why don't we have the right to say no thank you? Indeed, why don't we?
Because that would be too simple.
Yeah, I think with processing centres, there should be like detention centres. SD says, send them to Sturgeon. She wants more brown. Oh, she really does. And then we've got from Will, Rwanda will be the new Wakanda after they get all those doctors and architects. Oh, yes.
I fully agree with Will.
God bless.
Furthermore, I don't understand what is wrong with all you bigots. You know, as we all know, these people, they're just poor doctors. They see oceans to get here, and then all you do is you clap for them. You don't even offer to pay them more.
No, we don't want to clap, do we?
Senior
Ooh.
doctors could take industrial action over 1% pay rise. Apparently, we didn't clap hard enough.
I thought that's all they
We
wanted
should have.
was the clap.
Exactly. I misunderstood. I thought the entire point was if we clap for them, they're going to be fed and well nourished and their soul is going to be lifted up. Apparently, no. Apparently, they actually want more money. So the clap, first off, dome piece alert. Secondly, whatever I was going to say next, before that caught my eye.
Okay. So let's have a quick read of this then. So senior doctors in England will be consulted on taking industrial action if the government's 1% pay rise offer is not improved. And when you say the government, again, you're talking about the taxpayer. How dare you feel entitled to other people's money? The British Medical Association says it will ask members about stopping paid and unpaid overtime if there is not a figure near a 4%. Is this not blackmail?
4%.
The Royal College of Nursing has already said it will consider balloting over industrial action. It has called for a 12.5% pay rise this year, which was ridiculous considering you have been sitting making TikTok videos in empty hospitals for the last 18 months.
A 12%.
Go on.
Sorry, a 12% rise in anything is extortion.
Well,
Doesn't
when
matter
you
whether
consider
it's a
again,
pay rise or just the cost of something. It is insane.
they've
And then
sat
to
in empty
demand that as a pay
hospitals.
rise is absurd.
It is absurd because they've sat in empty hospitals and people have lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the sense of entitlement just really grinds my gears. It really does. How about you be grateful that you've got jobs? When you think about all the other perks these people get as well, no queuing, discounts. How many companies offered them discounts over the last 18 months? They went
A
straight
hell
to
of
the
a
front
lot.
of the queue. I mean, you know what, to be fair, ambulance workers and various other emergency service staff, they get all these perks all the time. Maybe not the discounts, but
No, they get discounts as well.
I'm just tired of people expecting something for nothing. And you're not saving lives. You're rolling out an experimental jab and you're not telling people. No, they don't deserve a pay rise.
But At the end of the day, you're doing your job. Nothing else. You're just doing a job. This figure of 4%, this is an above inflation rise. At this moment in time, nobody is getting an above inflation pay rise. So why the hell should you?
Can we
Doesn't
just
make any
remind,
sense. Then the nurses with their disgusting 12.5% pay rise. That's just absolutely ridiculous.
and in case anyone's forgotten, the NHS has been telling everyone for the last 18 months to stay at home to protect it.
Exactly.
We've already protected you. You've had as much as you're getting from us. What were we protecting you for? So you could grift us for an extra bit of money for still not
Robert,
doing your job properly.
Robert's nailed this. The God complex does exist, and it is people in the medical profession.
Yeah. Well, the hero thing as well, just, it was cringe. It's our
Oh no.
NHS, says SD. This is the thing, again. The reason why they're demanding a pay rise is because they're not getting the pay that they want, because the cost of running the NHS is extortionate. It is a money pit. It's a black hole of despair. And the reason is because the British public are funding it and they are treating the entire world. Maybe if you
Okay.
doctors and nurses weren't so snowflakey about asking people to pay for their treatment when they're not entitled to it, you'd have the money for your pay rise.
I have a consultant's view who apparently just wants fairness. Mike Henley, a consultant urologist in the East Midlands, said consultants' pay has been steadily eroded compared to other salaries in the public sector. Lad, you should have a look at how the private sector's going. We're not doing too well either. Apparently, he just wants to get back to fairness because, like everybody, he'd rather not stop doing overtime.
Fairness.
Weird. Anyway,
Has he met any cancer patients who've just struggled this year and got increasingly ill because they told us to stay at home to protect them while they're sitting in empty hospitals making TikTok videos?
one second. Okay, let's get on to the really important part of this statement. I don't expect to be paid like someone working in the city, but I don't expect to have a third of my pay removed either.
What?
Have you not heard of taxes, my friend? Dr. Mike, there is a reason you're a consultant urologist and not anything else, and that is because you are a blithering moron. This is called taxes, specifically the taxes which go towards paying your wages.
So can we ask
You
this?
remove a third of our bloody wages, and then you sit there and say, "Oh, a third of my wages have been removed." Where has this come from? Where is the evidence that a third of your pay has been removed?
Does this Mensa genius explain why he should be exempt from any deductions and everyone else is paying them? Does he understand how it works? And does
It's
he think?
because he
And does he
he is
think
a
this pay
doctor and
rise
he
is
is
going to?
important.
So he thinks his pay rise is going to stop him having deductions. These are the people doing your surgery. I would think twice.
This man is actually a spoon. Like there is no brain cell located between his ears. He has
Doesn't he
had a
understand?
lobotomy.
Even with a pay rise, he's still going to lose a third of his pay. You still
Does
lose
he
a
not
third.
understand? Does he not understand that if he demands a pay rise, the government is going to have to start putting taxes up? Therefore, first off, he's going to pay more, but beyond that, he's going to make everybody else pay more, all because he
Yeah.
wanted a bit of extra money. If you don't like it, lad, go work in the private sector like everybody else. Oh, you won't do that though, will you? No.
Well, this is the
Because
thing. You
working
won't
for the
benefit from it.
NHS is delightful. You basically can't get fired when you work for the NHS. There's no risk of losing your job. You can basically do whatever the hell you feel like. Good God, look at Harold Shipman.
Well, look at the scandal with the babies, the maternity wards. I was reading an awful account from one family. When they tried to pull the baby out, they cut the umbilical cord, they cut the baby's throat, and they were pulling the baby's limbs, and they could hear bones cracking.
Mm-hmm.
These people are disgusting. And we're supposed to call them heroes and grovel at their feet.
These people are morons.
We need to
Absolute
start
morons.
saying no more often. No.
But what we need to do is start pushing back against this NHS worship. The NHS worship is getting out of control and is completely and utterly ridiculous. These people are, at best, competent physicians. That's it. Then they can't walk on water. They can't do much of anything else. They are merely competent physicians, and they are not. They are not worthy of the pedestal they've been put on.
Exactly. I know for a fact I've had a GP appointment, more than one in fact, and I'm sure many others have, where they're literally diagnosing you from a book. Because whatever they're training them to do these days, it's not to recognise consistent symptoms, repetitive symptoms. And I'll often see a GP pull a book out and look up the symptoms in a book. Well, I'm not being funny, but for the money that you're earning, I could go home and do that and take your pay quite easily. And I'd happily do it for others, probably for half of what you get.
Because they're on a hell of a lot.
So One Easy Money says, how much do the hospitals get paid per COVID case? I thought the government was giving hospitals money. I know that GPs are being paid per jab.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And yes, and Rob points out, a lot of these consultants moonlight in the private sector.
Yep. I don't go to my doctor because, I don't need him. But I've spoken to the neighbour and we have the same doctor. Apparently, the doctor, he only runs his GP surgery 2 days a week. And the other 3 days he's off in another part of the country running his private clinic. I would imagine they're all much the same.
Yeah. Johnny Not Powell says Mike Henley needs a job in a fairground. Harsh but fair. Mr. 262 says what we've just said, a third of their pay should be removed like a large portion of their workforce. Well, obviously, I mean, we would like no one to pay taxes, but yes, if one must, then all should.
I think if you work for the government, you should be made to pay double tax. That would be a fair system, actually. You should be on just above minimum wage and you should be made to pay double tax.
Is that for the dishonesty and corruption? Is that like a prepayment fine or something?
No. It's basic. The problem is, if you work for the government, you're always going to vote for bigger government because that means more pay.
That's
so
true.
If you're double taxed, suddenly, you're not going to be quite as thrilled putting someone in who's saying, oh, we're going to have to raise taxes 2%. Because suddenly you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm paying 4%. I don't like that very much.
Plus, you're holding up a corrupt system, and for that, we despise you.
Exactly.
Liven's Flame, also, first of all, SD says bow ties are expensive. Well said. Liven's Flame says Dr. Mike wants more money for the NHS, but doesn't want to pay taxes. It seems to be the case, doesn't it? Will says he gets his tax money back as salary. Well, he gets it back in perks anyway. So, yeah, he's just entitled. Yuck. Daffyd says, people that receive taxpayer money always think their taxes keep the country going. Yes, it's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got to remember, this is not a private organisation. The NHS pays your wages from us. We're already paying for you. Greedy. Mr. 262 says, I have a shrine to the NHS. It's in the bathroom. Please don't give us any more information. The maternity ward scandal. Do you want to quickly cover this, Jordan, while we're on the NHS? It's truly amazing.
May as well.
Do you want to look it up or shall I?
Hey, you can. You know what you're looking for. I don't.
It was honestly, reading this, I just couldn't believe it.
We don't want sadness.
No, we're not going to do the detail again. It was horrendous.
Well, the NHS typically is horrendous.
What I'm going to do instead is give you just a basic overview, or rather you can do it. Just go by the numbers without the detail. But this is horrendous what they've gotten away with. And the general consensus from patients was that they just didn't care.
Which is completely true. Anyone who has ever dealt with a doctor knows the old stereotype of doctors whereby they are aloof and don't care what you have to say or think or feel.
Oh, before you start on this, Rob has just brought up another one I'd forgotten about. In around 2012, there was a Stafford hospital scandal, other hospitals too, where the elderly were left to starve or not given water.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, this
The
is not
reason,
the first, crime against humanity.
the reason I bring up ship, or brought it up earlier on, is because when you look into the Shipman thing, it actually becomes even more remarkable. Because the man was written up at, at least 3 times, I believe, for killing patients and overprescribing drugs. And it's like, you call somebody who murdered at least 200 odd people, and you called him when he was in university doing this.
Yeah.
You then called him when he was like a couple of years into his job, and then you called him again a third time. Like, you drop the ball so many times.
Yes.
It's all these people do. They just cover up and cover up and cover up. And the Americans also had one like this as well. Um, I don't know where this fellow was even a doctor. I think he was in New York. But the Americans had this guy who was estimated to have killed about 150 patients. And the remarkable thing about him is everyone knew he was doing it, but he just kept getting away with it. And I think it was because it was so incredibly blatant. When he was in medical school, they used to call him Doctor Death.
Well, I was just
Like,
going to say, they keep using these phrases like "angel of death," don't they? Like you're trying to
not
soften
to
it.
the
These
kingdom of the dead.
these people are murderers. They're playing God with people's lives. Anyway, a couple of quick comments, then I'll let you crack on with the story. Mr. 262 says this is bleak, few, but it needs to be said. Most people close their eyes to this, and any dissent is because you're a bigot. Yes, exactly. Philomena says RIP to all the people we've lost because of the NHS. Well said. Mr. 262 goes on to say National Horror Service. That's not untrue, is it? Harvesting fresh adrenochrome, says SD. Well, something's got to keep Soros going. Is this the one you were thinking? No. There was a gruesome Cleveland abortion clinic, says Will, run by Dr. Kermit Gosnell. First name Kermit, there's your clue. Who killed healthy babies. Of course, the media buried it. They do bury these things.
That was
I,
not the one I was thinking of, by the way.
Rob goes on to say, just on your point about Dr. Shipman, and then we'll go on to the story. He was only caught via his computer. He thought he deleted his misdemeanors, but failed to delete the ghost files. There you go.
Was actually I thought there was something. The comic isn't the right term, but I thought there was something strangely comedic about how Shipman was caught because he was a bit of a. This was from when I was young, so I may be overplaying this, but I believe he was a bit of a boomer, and he still did things like using typewriters and various things like that, and he did something on a computer that was just incredibly stupid. Like he used one of his victims' computers to send himself a note about killing them or something.
Well,
But I'm sure there was something weird like that.
Will says that Shipman was injecting heroin 3+ times a day, which doesn't surprise me. And this is the most poignant comment, really. There are so many stories, says Mr. 262. The fact that we're getting confused about which one we're talking about speaks volumes, doesn't it
It
just?
really does.
Anyway, back to this story. Let's see what it says. Do you want to read it?
Okay, right. Is it the? What's the worst thing about Thursday's Ockenden review into the latest NHS? Oh, okay, fair enough. As Shrewsbury and Telford Hospital. I got a bit confused there. Sorry, I was. Anyway, is it the scale of the trauma, the deaths, and the lack of compassion which put together make for the worst maternity scandal that the health service has ever seen? The inquiry started with 250 cases, but widened to a horrifying 1,862 cases, where care may have been inadequate. What a wonderful phrase! Care may have been inadequate.
Yeah, May. Okay.
These are just the interim findings, by the way.
So just going down to the detail of this, not graphic detail, by the way. The review found 13 maternal deaths in 18 years, stillbirths, which could have been avoided, and deaths of babies due to repeated attempts at forceps deliveries and a refusal to perform caesarean sections, which then led to severe trauma for the baby or the baby's death. On those last incidents, the report observes that women were made well aware that their request for a C-section was being refused because
The trust wanted to keep its rates of these operations as low as possible.
wow,
There you go. That makes you feel good. The
dirty,
NHS,
corrupt system.
it cares for you. Talking of caring for you and moving on to a much happier subject. Apparently, the dinghy people, these lads bought the cheap seats. They should have bought the first class seats to become a first class refugee. Figures obtained by our show iSpartacus show 110% increase in small boat crossings in the first 5 months, also known as dinghy people.
What's first class then? A fishing rod or an oar? What? Well, this is like the Libyan/African version of first class, is it? Or do they serve nuts on this ride?
It's when it's no, I mean, how freaking stupid are we? It's not when they have a slightly bigger boat. It's when they have a life jacket.
Oh, of
That's
course,
when
those first class perks. No drowning in first class.
you may get slightly damp, but that'll be it.
Oh, that's just like riding a log flume. Well worth 12,000 euros. Mugs. Carry on.
Flipping, I can't speak suddenly. Trafficking gangs behind the rising migrant crossings in the English Channel are attempting to overwhelm coast guards by sending waves of economy class boats. What the
That
hell? Leave
timing.
me alone. No, look, I'm having an economy class account, okay? Leave me alone. I don't want to pay your nonsense.
This is economy class journalism. Anyway, carry on.
They're sending economy class boats as decoys before launching first class dinghies.
Oh, but why are they doing this?
To be fair, have these people seen the boats that we're using to patrol the English Channel? Like, you don't need a fast boat, lad. All you need is some gear with an oar, right? It's not going to be difficult to outrun them. You don't even need to outrun them. All you need to do is just paddle out far enough, and they come and they chauffeur you in.
All you need is a mobile phone. 1-800 British Coast Guard. Come pick me up, please. So apparently they're doing this. They're trying to overwhelm the British Coast Guard so they don't notice the first class boats. They're not stopping any of them. I don't want to give you any tips here, but they're not stopping any of them. You're going to so much trouble for no reason.
Do you know what this is? This here is a scam. This here is up there with the insurance scam. You know, like when you buy an item and then you can insure the item against accidental damages? Over the long term,
You've got the manufacturer's thing, yes.
Exactly. Over the long term, it doesn't make sense to take any of this nonsense out at all. This is what it is. This is it for migrants. What is happening here? They're turning up in Calais and they're asking, hello, lad, do you want to go over to England via boat? And they're drawing the person in and saying, oh, yeah, I do. I fancy that quite a lot. It sounds pleasant. Out on the open oceans, breeze in my hair and all that jazz. The breeze in my afro, rather. And then they're getting the rug pulled from under them when the salesman said, this sounds lovely, but would you like to upgrade to our first class system? You get to go on a faster boat. The crossing only takes 3 hours as opposed to 2, or as opposed to 4, rather.
And you'll never get caught, right? Because that's what all the cheap boats are for, to distract them.
Exactly. You're okay, lad. You're going to get past just fine. You're on a rocket of a boat. You're on the old hydrofoil. Talking of afros and feeling the breeze in your hair, how wonderful that must be. Apparently, oh no, that bloody pop-ups there, I can see it coming. UK hairdressers must learn to cut and style afro hair, says new beauty flipping heck.
Review.
This
is discrimination. It's forcing you to touch someone. Isn't this like wax my balls bigot?
I do like how they're saying UK hairdressers must learn to cut, and then we've got 2 coloured people.
Well, why don't they show some British people? Wouldn't that really sell the story?
What a weird thing. What a weird sentence I'm about. It will now be compulsory for all UK hairdressers to learn how to cut and style afro and textured hair, and a long-awaited update to hairdressing regulations.
What if they don't want to?
First off, well, 1 minute. First off, what the hell is textured hair? Secondly, hairdressing regulations. What a weird world we live in where the government regulates how another person can cut somebody's hair. What? This is so strange.
Okay, before you carry on, I've got some comments.
No, by all means.
Mr. 262 says, breeze in the weave. And Sir Francis just says, no! And also, get out.
I agree with that.
I feel like this is incensing you somewhat. We might be laughing, but this is really getting ridiculous now. Mr. 262 says, surely that would just involve learning how to apply Gorilla Glue. But Rob D says, this stuff is relentless and tiresome. It is. This is why we mock it. Otherwise, it's a downward spiral of misery. Liven's Flame, this is a good take. You mean I can touch their funny hair without being a racist? Cool. And this really is the take people should have. Great, I can touch black people's hair. Do you remember this was listed as some kind of racial fetish? People wanting to date black people and touching. They were complaining people were touching their hair. You can't complain anymore, can you? Because if you touch someone's hair now, God knows why you'd want to, and they said, oh, you're being racist, you say, no, I'm a hairdresser. See how that works? So Francis says this is Northern Europe. And Will says, this is the most performative BS. In America, we have black/white and mixed salons. There's no requirement to serve everyone. Exactly as Lyman's Flame says. You stole for us now. Philomena makes a good point. White people are not allowed to have plaited hair or cornrows because of appropriating black culture. So how on earth will they practice? Good question.
They do it on dolls.
Mr. 262 suggests we just get the shears. This is interesting, okay? This is an observation I've made. I know it doesn't apply in every case, but there's so much of it. Most of these black women you see, mostly fighty, loud black women in America, whenever they get in a fight, someone pulls off their wig and it turns out they're bald. What's that about? Is that
The wig thing is so strange.
Is that because they've gone down the Gorilla Glue route and that's all that's left? Truly.
I don't know. I think it's because they pull it really tight. I genuinely, I don't know though. It's very, very strange.
And this is another good point from Will. Even if they require English people to learn to install weave, black people who are smart will still go to black salons. Indeed. Try going to a white-only salon and wait for the police to arrive because you're a bunch of bigots. Roy says, what? Their hair is different to mine? I thought we were all the same. Oh, you're so naive, Roy. Mr. 262 says, why would a black person want a racist near them with sharp implements? Yeah, Johnny Not Pal's also getting incensed. When they arrive at the border, we should treat them like aliens. I won't read the rest of that, but you can get the point. And Maiden Cornwall's asking, can we give them a perm by mistake? Sure. Yeah, as Will points out, and this is the case every single time, this is just a way to hire more inspectors and sell training. They already exist. There already exist salons that serve all types of hair. I will say as well, this is not just about funding more people. This is about more control. You have to do this or else.
There are 302 Afro-Caribbean salons. I don't really understand why it says that, why it words it in this way. I do understand, I'm playing dumb. In 2017, a study by the Hair and Beauty Industry Authority revealed that there were 35,000, basically 36,000 beauty salons in the UK, but only 302 of them were for black people. It's possibly, and I may be stupid, possibly because this isn't black people country.
It's
Just
not.
novel concept.
What is the current? Does anyone know? I know this. I know it's all BS anyway. What is the current alleged number of black people in Britain currently? What's the percentage?
High, too high, infinitely too high.
Well, more than 0.1% is too high, but SD suggests it's too much male hormone that makes them go bald.
A number of people said that, and I do agree.
Haven't looked at Diane Abbott for a while, but she's got a new wig. Definitely checking that out.
Oh, 1 minute. I need to Google.
Yeah, I want to know what the percentage of black people are, and then compare that to the percentage of black servicing hairdressers. This is a good point as well from Mr. 262. Oh, hold on a second, it jumped. Next, you run a French bistro and people of colour come in and demand you make them jerk chicken or some other crap. It's a good point. If you have a specialist salon, this is why I brought up the wax my balls bigot thing, because the reality is that this deviant Jessica, whatever the thing is, actually went into a woman's salon. So these women only treated women and told them to wax his balls. And of course they said no. Oh my God, it must be good. What are you doing? Oh, that's a mask. I thought that was her hair. I did wonder why her eyes look blank.
Well, blanker than usual. We can buy a Diane Abbott 2D card party mask.
Does Diane Abbott know this exists? Can we also buy 2 left shoes?
Who else do they have? Oh, they have a Nicola Sturgeon, I believe.
Oh, God, no. Jordan.
Oh, they have a Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn is cheaper than Diane Abbott.
Well, we already knew
and
that.
Boris.
Oh, Boris.
With Boris is not that much of a surprise considering his heritage, but with Diane Abbott it's a little bit surprising. I would have imagined. First off, it's illegal to sell black people these days. So, immoral practice going on.
That's slavery. That's cardboard slavery.
That, 5 available, 16 sold.
Ever?
Sorry, what do you mean ever? The fact that 16 people bought this, or one person bought 16, that's remarkable.
Yeah, but it depends what they're going to do with them.
Burn them.
Dartboards.
Dartboards.
You don't know. You don't know what the purpose is. Maybe they're Halloween masks.
I did see an article, Diane Abbott, A History in Hair, and I want to know.
I thought I was going to say history in hell. By the way, where is Diane Abbott's actual hair, if not a wig? You got distracted by the silly mask thing, didn't you? Where's her hair? Fake or otherwise?
So there is no new hair today.
Ah.
I know, that was my opinion as well. Okay, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Right, so just going back to that last story, Johnny Not Powell says approximately 13%. So how many salons serve black people? Was it approximately 13% of the total? Or was it more?
It was significantly less.
Wow, so they're underrepresented for a change. If only it were the case for crime.
I would say that when it comes to these sort of things, they have the advantage or not advantage, but there is the aspect that they are typically bundled within a small area. So
this is the thing. I mean, here's a message for black people. If you want to create and support black businesses, which, by the way, you only do with grants from us, but you're welcome, and like we have a choice, fair play to you. If you want to go and support black businesses, I actually don't disagree with it. But what you don't get to do is stop us supporting our businesses, and you don't get to force us to support your businesses by default. That's all.
Oh, Colonel Custard said Corbyn bought the mask for his inflatable dolls. I truly hate that.
Why?
I hate every bit of that. That is horrific.
Please, no. Oh, God, I'll never get that image.
I hate it.
Oh, that's a good point, Daffyd said. Do you remember Diane Abbott's son, nasty little criminal that he is? He attacked her with scissors.
Was it Stephen Lawrence?
No.
Oh, sorry, a different one. My apologies.
Mr. 262 suggests that if we teach black people to cut hair in prison, the demand will be met in next to no time. Very well said. Yeah, 75% if you watch any adverts. It's truly amazing how much this is being pushed now.
I think
Almost,
everyone realises and notices.
yes, but noticing is not enough now, is it? Unfortunately. But we still have the power that they can't do anything with. We can choose where we shop. We can choose who gets our money. And I think as the food crisis, for one thing, starts to hit, we're going to have choices, and it will be a bit more effort, but it will pay off in the long term. It really will. We've got to stop letting these people dictate what we can do, where we can go, who we can spend time with. We've got to. And we will. And more people are getting fed up with this. Guarantee it. I think once you start to notice things, you never stop noticing things. And the people are accruing a nice little portfolio of, I would say grievances. Things that they're not happy with, things that they don't like being coerced into or manipulated or forced into. So yeah, people are starting to notice. And what you'll find will happen is that a lot of these hairdressers will start doing what many do now, and they will start just setting up their own business from home. And even if they go through with the training, doesn't necessarily mean that they have to service everyone that they are trained to do so. So it was an interesting story insofar as was said earlier in the chat, every time one of these little grievance cases comes up, it's going to create organisations and charities and social support groups and various other things. It's always about the money. So as people grifting, organisations pop up and suddenly they get government funding or charitable funding. It's always about that. It's always about getting a little more, squeezing a bit more out of us. It's up to us now whether or not we allow them to squeeze us. And I think the way things are going, the squeeze is going to end really soon. So we need other things in place. But yes, hairdressing is something we rarely talk about with our community streams. We're going to need hairdressers. We're going to need people to do all kinds of things that we take for granted now. Even something as trivial on the surface as, say, a makeup artist. Women are still going to want to be pampered on their wedding morning. Still going to want a makeover and get their hair done, and or a birthday or a special event. All of these things are still going to be needed. Johnny Not Pow.
You can't even get bloody the bursaries in universities for that.
Yeah, you can't even accept a charitable donation for them, let alone set one up.
It looks like Darth Vader's helmet.
I've always said that. No, in fact, what was it I said? She looks like a knave. She looks like the Jack. She looks like the Jack on a pack of playing cards.
She really does look like a knave. Diane Abbott, the knave.
Two left shoes Abbott, the knave of Britain. Anyway, right, so yeah, don't let this get you down. I mean, this is why we mock it. We mock it because it's ridiculous. Okay, this stuff is it's fodder. It's nothing. It's there to demoralize us. It's so ridiculous. We're not going to let these people beat us with their ridiculous nonsense. Of course we're not. We're so much better than this. This is why they keep throwing all this rubbish at us, because they've got nothing else. They've just got nothing else. The only way they can have equality with us is by forcing us to lower our standards. Think on that. Because they just cannot compete with us. Do not lower your standards for these people. They don't deserve it. And they don't have the right to it. Two left feet Abbott. It's not even two left feet, is it? Was it just two
No,
different
no,
shoes?
it's two different left shoes. The real question is, do you want to be defeated by somebody who can't even dress themselves properly? And then the excuse, oh, I was in a rush, I left quickly. What the hell are you First off, you're not that important, love, where you need to rush around to get to an interview. Nobody really cares.
Well,
Beyond
this was
that,
clearly a
like,
photo op, wasn't it?
flipping heck.
Do you
Whoever
think?
stops Diane Abbott and says, you know what, I want a picture with Diane Abbott, I reckon this person she's high up in the Tory leadership. She saw the two left shoes coming towards her and she thought, happy days.
Do you know what? I'm
Got to
just
get in with this.
looking at what she's wearing. I'm thinking she's a nurse. And see, if that was me, I'd be like, yeah, I'll get my picture taken with Diane Abbott and I'll show everyone she can't dress herself. That would be me personally. It's everything she owns, like red or black. That's amazing.
She's like a weird bumblebee.
She is.
A knave.
The knave of Britain. We are going to wrap up here. I hope no one's been demoralised by this. That wasn't the point. The point was to mock the hell out of it. I think Friday night
before we wrap up.
Oh, go on.
Before we wrap up, things are moving along at a pace. We have a nice chance over the weekend to actually take stock and see what we're doing properly.
Yes.
Like, sitting and watching things isn't enough nowadays. Sitting and saying things isn't enough. We actually need to start doing things.
Yes.
Start partaking in things, start taking up hobbies and various other bits and bobs like that, and start actually protecting ourselves from what will be coming. We know these things are happening, and there's not much good knowing stuff is going to happen if when we're there, we're in the same place now as, then as we are now, if we're still completely unprepared. The knowledge of knowing something is happening isn't going to be currency for when it does. So yeah, go do something.
Well, I mean, yeah, we've got to start putting our money where our mouth is. We say this a lot, but the reality is there are a lot of people who kind of nod and agree, but they carry on living the way they always did. We've got to start looking at, how can we go direct to farmers? We've got to start looking at which company should we boycott, which ways. I know there might be an initial increase in inconvenience or cost, but long term, it's going to pay dividends. It really is. It's going to be the difference between survival and not surviving. It really is important. And as I say all the time, doesn't have to be a grand gesture. You don't have to go out of your way to do something. One step at a time. Make one change, whether it's daily or weekly or once a month. One change, one thing. Find something on Amazon or eBay. Go and find the direct source. See if you can get it cheaper direct from the supplier. Find the businesses that are local to your area. In our case, it would be supporting British businesses. Look into their about section. Find out where the company was founded. Is it a family business? Is that what you want to support? Does that mean something to your values? If it does, support them. Like I said, just one change. You do it once, it's much easier to do it twice, and much, much easier to do it a third time. And before you know it, you start making these changes. It really is that simple. Don't look at the end goal as this massive mountain you need to climb. Look at it as steps. What's the first step I can take to do something that will benefit us? Whether it's just going direct to a supplier, maybe travelling an extra few miles to a farm if you're in a car, maybe boycotting that big supermarket for the corner shop. Not the corner shop, because, but the local baker, the local butcher. And also, none of this ritual slaughter nonsense. Yeah, booking hotels, there you go. Go direct to them. Stop using all these agents who just make a fortune because we pay for convenience. We're giving them free money.
Mm-hmm. We can still use their sites to look them up.
Yeah. Use them like they use us.
Exactly.
Use them to get all the information you need and then bypass them completely. If you pay the company direct, you're cutting out the middleman. They're making all of the profit on whatever they're selling you, whether it's a service or a good. The agency makes nothing. And it's the same with every business. It's the same with every industry. One little change can move mountains if everyone just does it. So that's the inspirational message for this week. If you can make a change, please do. When we come back next week, we would love to know if anyone has done this. Tell us what you've done, or tell us what you're going to do. Maybe what you share will inspire someone else. So anyway, on that note, we're going to say thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Always appreciated. Thank you, everyone who's listening on the radio. Have a very good evening. Have a great weekend. I've got this up on the screen. Obviously, we're going to send everyone over to Nick. If you like good music, it's Ladies' Night on Vile Radio this evening. So Nick has put together a fantastic playlist. If you like your music and you want to get a bit of Ladies' Night, get over there, show some support.
Is the feelings right?
If the feeling's right, it is Ladies' Night. There you go. So yes, have a great weekend all. Take care, be safe, and we will see you next week.
Indeed. Bye for now.